Get your motor running. Head out on the highway.
G'day folks, welcome to 2018. I thought I'd make a video about my Roadmaster. It's just ticked over, it's 1 year old now. A week ago it had its 1 year anniversary, and I thought it's an opportune time to make a video of all the things that I've changed on the bike and modifications I made to make it my own. It's pretty much where I want it now. I'm not going to do much more to it except one. There's a little paint job that I want to do on the saddlebags, sort of a feather or a what's the other thing called, dream catcher outside on the two saddlebags, just because I like that sort of stuff. That'll be the very last thing that I'll do to it. Famous last words. Of course, Indian just brought out that damn bloody stage 3 big bore kit, which does tickle my fancy a bit, but it's just too expensive. Here in Australia it's going to cost a fortune, 4 or 5 grand I think, installed, so I don't think so. She goes alright as it is. I'm not a power junkie, so it doesn't matter. So I think I'm there, and I just wanted to, for my own records as well as you guys, run through the dozen things that I've done. It's actually quite a dozen, 30 dozen things that I've changed to my Roadmaster. So let's get stuck into it. So there she is. He, it, whatever. Alright, so I made a list because I have a short memory. So here's the list. Dozen things. So we'll just run through it and explain to you a little bit why I did each change. If there is a need to explain, otherwise it's pretty self-explanatory. So the first thing I did is shorten the antenna. I don't know if you can see that. You see that? Yeah, here we go. This thing is normally twice as long. Comes up to here, right about there. And constantly I was running into that thing when I'm going around the back of this thing. So I just thought, there are short antennas you can buy. But I just thought, bugger that, I'm just going to cut that antenna in half. I don't listen to radio much at all anyway, so I was thinking I'll take the risk. If it does bugger up the reception, who cares? I don't listen to radio, and if it doesn't, then it's going to look a hell of a lot better the way it is now. And lo and behold, here in Brisbane I still get all the radio stations as I did before, so there's no change to it, and it looks a hell of a lot better than it did before, and cost me no money. So that's change number one. Change number two was a bigger change, and that's this thing here. That is a truck extension. What I did is I relocated, or I basically extended the shock that's on the other side of the cover to adjust the rear shock. As you may or may not know, these bikes come with a Fox air shock that you can, the preload you can adjust by pumping in some air. So the problem with that is that you constantly have to take the other side, not this one, on the other side, the side cover off, just to get to the bugger. And I found that to be annoying to constantly do that. So what I did is I just put an extension to it, put a bracket on here and mounted this on the side, so I can actually adjust my shock from the side here with no problem whatsoever. See, you can see it go back there. It just connects to the hose underneath. So that's a very useful change to make adjusting the air shock much simpler. Then over here I added a battery tender. Some changes are small changes, but I'll list them anyway. So that's just to make sure that when I don't ride it for a little while, I can plug it in. I also can check. I don't know if you can see that, but it's actually blinking there. It's got like a traffic light signal, green, yellow, red. It's blinking green, which means everything's fine. When it starts to blink yellow, that's when you need to plug it in, and when it's red, well, that's when you've missed it a bit, didn't you? Then the seat. The seat has been redone. What has been done here is I've taken the stock seat. This is the stock seat. I didn't see the point of spending $2,000 or more, because that's how much I would have had to spend here in Australia to get a seat like a Corbin or a Mustang or Ultimate or whatever you want to call them. They all come from the United States. To get that sent here, and then I would have still taken the risk with those whether I like it or whether it even works or whatever. So for $400, my local upholsterer has replaced basically the seating. He's put much better leather on here, which is softer, so the foam underneath works better. He made this one steeper, so it doesn't push me so far out. So the top cover, all this is new leather. You put a nice little red stitching in there just to accent it and match it to the red bike. So I think he's done a fantastic job for $400. So that's what it looks like. So I'm quite happy with it. He even got the stitching dead right to match the factory stitching. This is factory here still, and this is his. So you don't see a difference. Well, that's pretty bloody good for $400. The verdict is still outstanding. I mean, the looks is fine, I like it. The verdict is still outstanding whether it actually has worked. Because the reason I made that, of course, is that my ass was always on fire. I just didn't agree with the stock seat. After 7,500 kilometers, it just didn't break in. So I thought, fuck it, I'll just go and get it changed. And beep that out, that last word. I'll just go and get it changed and hope for the best. So that's a very useful number 4 mod. Number 5 on the list, Lloyd's air cleaner. Yeah, righto. This thing here. Now, I did this primarily because I hated the look of the stock air cleaner. I just don't like that heart-shaped thing. It's way too big. This is a bit big too, but it's smaller than the stock one and looks a hell of a lot nicer. Plus it's got that arrow, see the down pointing arrow, so it's really an Indian air cleaner. It's, to my mind, it's beautiful. It comes even with the red filter to match the color of the bike, so I think it's bloody perfect. Best looking filter I've seen. So I did it for the looks, but of course it also helps with the breathing, makes it go a bit better. And with that, of course, comes the Indian stage 1 slip-on. So that's just a slip-on, that's just a muffler part that you slip on, and the fishtails you buy extra. So I think it just looks absolutely gorgeous with them fishtails. But I mean, each to their own. Some people like it, some don't. I absolutely love them. So that's that change. Oh yes, and of course, when I did that, I needed to adjust the mapping, because once you do both air filter and muffler, you need to adjust the mapping. On this particular bike, you're better off adjusting the mapping even on a stock bike, because the mapping that comes with the Indians is absolute rubbish. It's not very good at all. So I've bought a PVCX before I even made these changes, and the Fuel Moto people in America are absolutely fantastic. They sent me an improved fuel map for the stock bike, and even that made already a big difference. I think I've covered that in one of my earlier videos. You can watch that. So now I've just got them to send me the revised mapping for this configuration, which they do happily. Yes, it's all good. So she's running now much nicer, absolutely brilliant. So that's that. Extended shifter. This bugger here. The reason I did that, the normal shifter comes up to here. I think it's a 2-inch shifter, the width. And for some reason at the beginning, I don't know what I would still do, but at the beginning my foot kept missing the shifter. I just constantly shifted up in the air. So I said, bugger that, I'm gonna get an extended shifter. And lo and behold, the Indian actually make an extended shifter. This one actually looks very pretty. It's got even Indian written on the side and everything else, so it's a good looking shifter. But you can get just some plain ones from other people that extend it and look just as good. So while we're there, actually, we'll also mention the next change, which is these things, the highway pack. They're Indian highway pack. They're very expensive, 300 something bucks I think I paid for them. They're very expensive, but they're very good. They're solid as, and it's a very good quality. I don't think they'll rust for a long time. They must have had them in the chrome bath for a long time. So that's the next change. Then I bought some ram balls. You see this one here on the clutch side, this clamp, this can actually come off, and there's another clamp that is this clamp with a ram ball attached to it. I've got it over here. I haven't attached it, as you can see. It's right here. So there's that clamp, and then that's where the ball goes. So I bought this just in case I need to, or I want to attach something to it. I have it. Second last mod. We're already to 11. So if we count it, we've already done 11 changes. Second last mod is these rails. Actually, I could do it from the other side because you can see it better from the angle. Here we go. These saddlebag rails, they just look the business to me. Yeah, they're really nice. Supposed to be functional, of course, as well, but I didn't do it for that. I did it for the looks. It's just absolutely fantastic looking. So I love that. So that's that. And then the last change, very last change I just did actually yesterday is, we can put that list away now, is the washers in the trunk. I had the problem, hang on just a second. I had the problem that my trunk wasn't latching in. So these latches here, they didn't go far enough in here to make this thing click in. So what I did is I put a couple of washers under it. And when I took this off, there actually were washers under there, so the dealer had already tried to adjust it that way, but didn't put enough washers under it. So now I've put enough washers under it. It's actually 1.5 mil thick, each of these washers. And that brings these clamps down far enough for this thing to click in just perfectly. So that's the very last change I made to my Roadmaster. There's the dozen changes. And like I said, I've got it just where I want it now. So it's just 8,000 kilometers I put on. Just had the service actually last week, 8,000 kilometer service, and from here on it is just ride it until something else bothers me, and I'll buy it, put it on, like that big ball kit I said. But I don't think so. I think I got it where I want it, so it's just beautiful. But like I said, on the side of the saddlebag I just put some sort of feather custom paint job with the guy that did my other bike. He's pretty good, and that should be it. Hold it right there, guys. Forgot one very important change, number 13. Mrs. would never forgive me for not mentioning this. As I mentioned, armrests. So the missus really loves these. They swing around like so, and then she's nicely locked in. She's got somewhere to put her arm. She loves them. The only thing that the Indian people haven't really worked out all that smart here is if you try to open the trunk with this out, it will actually jam here because there's no space for this thing to open. So you have to always remember to pivot this out before you want to open the trunk. So that's a small, that's why I actually have them always folded back like that, as you can see, so that I don't have to remember to fold them back and when I open the trunk, otherwise they just jam. So that's the 13 changes now. It's not 12, it's 13, but anyway. And feather will be 14, and then we're done and dusted. Ride safe, guys. See you next time. Cheers.